Texas trans healthcare bans will force youth to detransition. Texas has become the latest state to ban gender-affirming care for trans youth. On Friday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed SB 14 into law, which says doctors cannot prescribe youth hormones or puberty blockers and cannot perform gender-affirming surgery on minors, something that is already extremely rare. It also says that any youth currently receiving such care must be weaned off their treatment, essentially forcing them to detransition. A report from the Williams Institute found that approximately 30,000 Texas youth ages 13 to 17 identify as trans. It has the third largest population of trans youth after California and New York. The ACLU of Texas has already voiced plans to challenge the bill, tweeting, quote, "Abbott can't stop trans youth from thriving in Texas and will take him to court to make sure of it." Important. Healthcare for trans youth is still legal in Texas until September 1st, 2023. We are doing everything in our power to preserve access to this life-saving, evidence-based healthcare beyond that date, end quote. The legislation is causing some parents to consider fleeing the state with their children. The American Medical Association, the American Psychiatric Association, and the American Academy of Pediatrics have all rejected claims that gender-affirming care is harmful to transgender children or adults. All of these organizations support best practice medical care for trans youth. Well, first, there you have it. Medical organizations commenting about medical care, not
don't push your science out on me.
Not governors and legislators that know nothing about what they're passing laws for. The second is I find, and again, this is happening here in Florida, is the fact of parents having to leave the place that they live to care for their children. As a parent, I can't imagine having to uproot myself to get my son health care. It wouldn't even cross my mind. My clients are here, my livelihood is here, my business is here, my family is here. How does someone, you can't uproot yourself for gender-affirming healthcare or a women's abortion healthcare or any of these other services that are being outlawed in all of these red states. I mean, it is an abomination, is what it should be called. And I really hope that, again, the courts step up, as we're seeing starting here in Florida. I hope this trend continues to see that this is again, my body, my choice is the rally cry of the right, and about wearing masks. But when it comes to giving your own family or your own self health care, they're trying to limit it.
And it was Judge Hinkle who also mentioned the medical stuff, the science. I mean, it's just there. I just think that Greg Abbott, like the previously mentioned Liberty Bibberty, Jennifer Tillman, is just another one of those people whose life is such misery and torment that he's only happy when he's making other people suffer as much as he is.
I don't want to go into too much emotional side of it, but I do want to say that he is conniving. He did try to do this very first thing on the eve of the Ukrainian war breakdown, when he tried making it illegal and tried rounding up any trans child and their siblings and removing them from their parents' care and then putting them in the broken foster care system, even though they had a loving family at home. They did that, and then it was hushed up because the Ukrainian war was the next day, and that was intentional. So it was, I just think he's an evil human being, and one day I hope that he gets his reckoning.
Yeah, he's a very particular gremlin, but that's what he wants. He wants people to leave the state. Yeah. And that's what DeSantis wants too. They want refugees leaving, and soon, if they take over an entire country, they want us out of the country too, and that's the end goal.
It's sad to me. Presidential candidate Ron DeSantis's cousin, Bud Abbott, is cut out of the same cloth. They're both highly educated. They're both much, much smarter than they're letting on. You don't go to school at Yale and Harvard and go to law school and be dumb at Ivy education. So what's really behind this is the politics of election, power, money. We know what all of this is about. The problem is when somebody like this gets access to the power and the money for political gain, we have a history, unfortunately, in America of frequently making very bad choices. And it's not until we realize how bad the choices were that we made that we have regret and recrimination of them. Quick examples. In 1942, after Pearl Harbor, we interned hundreds of thousands of Japanese Americans, where we spent millions of dollars and huge amounts of apology of going, my goodness, how could we have possibly done this to you? But it took years of us in terms of reparation to do that. In 1958, a governor in Alabama stands on the steps named George Wallace and criminalizes black people in Alabama, and it's used as a cry to justify the same actions all across the South. In 1988, Ronald Reagan won't speak the word AIDS, and we marginalize those that are literally dying at our fingertips because they become a marginalized class, because we can. America can do that and marginalize black people. That's what we're doing in 2023 to trans. Identification is between 0.9% and 1.6% of all of America. Why would the man in the wheelchair in Texas, intentioned words by the way, pick on a trans person in Texas? It's because he can. And he's going to do it to further his aspirations of power and money. They're the most despicable portions of our nature. It was true in 42 against Japanese Americans. It was true in 58 in Alabama against the black community. It was true in 88 against AIDS and those that were dying. And it's true today. But Abbott is a despicable human being.
And it's the same people, by the way. They didn't die yet.
Yeah.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show from Happening Out Television Network. In the model of PBS and NPR, we educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the stories going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.